Hey guys, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor contestants how to play the game by criticizing current players, and we're going to do that tonight. I'm one of your resident Survivor superfans, one of your co-hosts, Ryan Stacy. I'm back after my sick leave last week. I'm feeling mostly better. My voice, I think, still sounds a little weird, so forgive me if I sound a little off in this episode. Or don't forgive me, I don't really care. But I'm joined by the two people who didn't miss last week, the two non-slackers on this podcast, Josh Weschler in person, and Derek Kubicek.
Hello. Yes, back in person once again. And I would just like to say very quickly, I am a genius. Because if you listened to last week's episode, which I hope you all did because it was fantastic, just me and Derek there, very peaceful. Very cool.
Very long.
Very correct.
Yeah, maybe a little long, but it was some quality content, if I might say so myself.
Quality Survivor digestiges.
And one of those pieces of quality content was my beautiful prediction about who was going home next was correct.
Spoiler alert, we're going to go ahead and do that right now because I think you probably would have watched the episode. If you're not here, go watch the episode. Dwight. You picked Dwight.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day, buddy. There's no good way to make a prediction for who was going home next.
No.
I tried to explain it last week,
But congratulations.
There was logic there.
Your sleeper pick worked out great. I love it. And I love being proven wrong. So, congrats. I'm Derek, the third co-host. And I would just like to say, I wish I was more sorry that we made the podcast long for Ryan. I did apologize profusely, but I have to admit, the longer that I think about it, the less sorry I am. I will try not to do that in the future.
Oh, if I'm on the podcast, you won't be. And I think even if I'm sick, I might just sit in the same room and just occasionally throw stuff at you. Be like, hey, wrap it up.
Just Ryan leering from the corner, and you can slowly see his eyes seething into red.
Yeah. Give myself the executive producer title and do that. But yes, we watched episode 7 tonight, which is called Bull in a China Shop. Our first real full merge episode. None of this earn your way in and stuff. It's a real episode. Normally this is where I would ask you guys what you thought of the episode, but I'm going to go first because I didn't really care for this episode. To be honest, we spent half the episode at the Immunity Challenge, I guess, trying to make emotional moments happen that, completely fell flat for me, and then we're going to get the return of the Knowledge is Power advantage, which is totally my favorite thing, which led to some fun scrambling, but, it was all because of the Knowledge is Power advantage, so that left, I don't like or care about any of this because it's the Knowledge is Power, and at the end of the episode, it's still in the game, so I'm just kind of annoyed with this episode.
Can I tell you what I'm disappointed with? Is, I agree with everything that you're saying, so, what you're saying times 2 for me. I was really excited for this episode just because it felt like it was almost like a second merge episode, because half of the tribe was immune last week. So we were going to be able to see where new lines were drawn now that everyone is vulnerable. And we never got that because of Knowledge is Power. Because this attention was shifted to James, and then everything was just getting messed around with advantages and people just trying to prevent him from guessing where it was. It didn't end up mattering in the end. And maybe the exact same vote would have happened anyways. But I would have liked to see how this would have laid out in a more organic fashion that wasn't clouded by the Knowledge is Power advantage.
The only thing I'm going to add, because I agree with what Ryan's saying, I mostly agree with what Josh said, and the only reason I say mostly is because some of that I didn't even think about, so I need to digest that a little bit more. I feel like I don't know how any of these contestants feel about each other, and that's bothering me quite a bit, and this was an opportunity for us to lay some groundwork for the merge. And like Ryan said, Kip kind of muddied the waters on that a little bit. We don't know, and then, Josh, he supplemented that by saying, no new lines were drawn. I don't necessarily want the winner to be so obfuscated because I don't know how these players feel about each other. That doesn't add tension for me. It kind of bothers me. I don't know if Owen and Sammy are friends. I don't know if people actually dislike Gabler or if it was just an Ellie thing. I don't know if James and Carla are still talking to each other. I don't know what Jesse is doing strategically outside of talking with Cody. There's so many things that we don't understand about how they interact with each other. One, because we spent so much time at the challenge. Two, because we did some more flashbacks this time at the challenge. And three, because the producers decided to message in a bottle Kip back into the game because they are trying to they're trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Just let it die. The contestants already killed it.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, I think the thing here is there were emotional character moments, but all of them felt forced, like Jeff trying to just jam him in there alongside Knowledge is Power. So, I don't know, this episode felt flat for me.
Fake.
Yeah, it just
manufactured.
I didn't really think about it until you said it, but I do feel like I know the least about Baka right now and how their inter-tribe, or like sub-tribe at least now that they're merged, how their dynamic works. I have a pretty good idea about how, former Coco and former Vessi lay out, but I'm still so confused, and tonight didn't help based on how people voted. I have no idea what is up with Baka.
For a while there, I have a point system that I used to decide who I get best and worst player, which was derided last week.
Deservedly so.
I take issue with. But for a while, I'd sit and think about it. But for a while, one of the players who was Owen, I had just a question mark next to his name. And I was like, I don't know what to do with him. So I ended up figuring something out. But for a while, I just had question mark. And I still have lots of question marks about this episode. Are you guys ready to jump into this thing?
Let's do it.
Yep.
So we get back from Tribal Council. Janine is very shook. She was left out of the last vote. Ellie is gone. But she ends up going around, be like, no, it's okay. I can play my game now, unattached. She does what you're supposed to do after a vote. It's not going to be a great episode for Janine.
No.
Yep.
We have Dwight and Owen strategizing, and Owen is worried about Gabler. He's a loose cannon. Maybe Gabler will go home in this episode. Nope. Not going to happen. But we do get confirmed his idol is expired now, the one Gabler got on day 1. I don't remember if you guys touched on that last week, but that was announced after the episode that Gabler's idol was out, because it was 2 tribal councils, and even though Gabler had immunity at the last tribal council, it was a tribal council.
We were under the assumption that it was expired after that tribal.
I do not think we discussed it on the podcast, though. So here, we're confirming it here now. It is gone.
So we do get a new kind of challenge layout, and it's not really new. It's just a slight tweak on something we've done before, but we haven't done this since Africa.
Yeah, tournament style.
Which, but even the divide into pairs. It's been so long since we've done something like this. I really like this. They're told to divide into 6 pairs. They end up deciding to do rock draws. And I believe we had a question about this come in on Twitter.
Yeah, we had a question come in from Natasha O'Neill on Twitter asking us who would each of us have picked as our partner for the challenge. And now she did put in the disclaimer, and I respect it because it obviously shows that she is a loyal listener and knows us too well at this point. But she disclaims, I know you'd say that you wouldn't pick, but just pick anyway.
100% correct. We wouldn't pick.
Yeah, my answer is draw rocks or straws or something, which they did. So they did this correctly.
Everyone made the right move, which I love.
But if you're forcing us to pick, I honestly, I think I would probably just pick Noelle. I know that, there's something there, but if we get pitted against each other, maybe that gives me a leg up. But also, she's proven to be a pretty strong physical powerhouse in most of these challenges, so I would probably be hedging my bet, and I would go with Noelle.
I don't know. I'd pick someone who would, because going into this challenge before we actually get to the challenge location, I was saying that this was going to be something like you're tied together, and you're trying to compete at kind of like a
sack race?
Like a sack race, basically. I don't know what you were going to do, but I'm like, okay, there's going to be equal parts challenge, physical, and equal parts puzzle, and you might be tied together, whatever. So I'm like, okay, someone who's basically the same, a similar body type to me, who can be kind of flexible with maybe puzzles and the physical side. And I couldn't think of anyone.
Joel from Micronesia.
There you go. I don't know. Maybe someone like Cody would be good to pair me up with. Maybe someone like Cassidy, although she might be a little too small. But who knows? I don't know. Somewhere along those lines.
Lock it in.
I'll go Cody.
Okay. I'll probably go Sammy just because he's probably the all-around best athlete, and he's got skills in other areas too, so it's not like he's just strength. I just think he's probably all-around the best, most average pick, to get something in every category. So I probably would have picked Sammy. And even if I did have to go up against him at the end, at least I would probably get to the end and have a chance. And maybe it is a podcasting challenge at the very end, and I'll smoke him. I don't know. You gotta get to the end to win immunity.
Yeah.
You have to have a convoluted point system to death,
Yes.
and then Ryan wins. Here's a strategic answer. Someone who I want to build an alliance with that I maybe feel like is new or maybe a little tenuous. So that could be anybody, but if you're asking me to pick a name, I already did that, but strategically speaking, maybe someone you don't have a strong bond with but you're connecting with.
And maybe specifically someone who you don't have a really close alliance with.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to like build bonds or anything, but kind of like the reward challenge strategy of leave your closest ally at the beach.
Sure.
Leave your closest ally outside of your group of two.
Sure.
Yep.
It's a good call. So they divide into the 6 pairs, and it's going to be elimination style. Each round of play, for the first 2 rounds, 2 of the pairs get eliminated. The final 2 pairs, they become 4 individuals, compete for the final immunity. We spent a long time at this challenge. Highlights being people getting stuck in these muddy, twisted fishing nets, basically, getting hilariously stuck inside.
The audio, Noel and Janine were like, I'm so sorry. You can't even see him because there's so much mud on the net.
Just roll!
I'm thinking of the dwarves from the Hobbit movies wrapped up in the spider's webs.
Reminded me of like a saw trap.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
But eventually the final 4 are going to be the pair of Cody and Dwight, and then Gabler and Owen, with Gabler. As everyone predicted, Gabler wins the final portion of the challenge.
I did my prediction when we got to the final leg. I said Gabler was losing first, and I was wrong. He's got that old man strength and that plumber's grip.
So Baca and Vessi, we talked in the pre-merge how it seems like those 2 groups might come together and take down Coco, and that seems to be the plan going to Tribal Council. Plan is to do 4 votes James, 4 votes Ryan.
Seems logical.
Yeah, that's fair. If you feel good with Baca and Vessi, go for it.
Now, do you think that those were the 2 names that came up because people know about Carla's idol? Because that information, at least through the edit and through what we've seen in the episodes, hasn't been shown to us.
Nope.
No one has talked about it, so I'm still under the assumption that no one knows about it. But the fact that they just jumped straight to those 2 guys and not to, Cassidy or Carla makes me feel like they're avoiding her on purpose.
If they know about the idol, the right move is to go after Carla. Split between Carla and James or Ryan or somebody. That'd be the right move. If they don't know, they don't know.
So it might just be lucky, I guess.
Might just be lucky that no one found out about it. So while they're out at the water well, James, Owen, Dwight, and Sammy, they find a note for an advantage hidden in the water well, which is like a cool spot to hide an advantage. The problem is what the advantage is.
Well, and because this is guaranteed to be found. This isn't hidden or anything like that. You don't, there's a challenge that's kind of associated with it, or a risk that's associated with it. But, they're guaranteeing that someone's going to find it because you're going to get water at some point.
But I think the interesting part is usually you're going off with somebody else. So you force somebody to find it with other people. I get what they're going for, and that's fine. It's just that the fact that this is the knowledge is power. It's a clue to find the knowledge is power. It's hidden underneath the shelter, so you gotta go get it in front of everybody. But James seems to get this, easy. Snap of his fingers, James Olsen's got knowledge is power.
Yeah, and this is different if you find it alone. It's a big, internal debate on, do I go for it? When do I do it? How do I need to bring other people in to try to accomplish retrieving it from underneath the shelter? But since you find it with, 4 other people? 3 other people, you can just go. Literally, even if someone's sitting in shelter right now, just go up to it and just grab it because that information's out already.
Yep.
Honestly, I'd probably go get it and then maybe just immediately burn it. I'd be like, I'm going to grab it and take this off the table, open it, read it in front of everybody, burn it. That'd probably be the way I'd go.
Production would hate you.
You would never play again.
I would love you.
Assuming never playing again. Look, I'm 100% okay with going Survivor mostly to piss off production and take the piss out of all their stupid ideas.
Yeah, they take the wind out of all their sails. No, this kip sail needs to stop.
Yeah, burn all the knowledge is power, burn the hourglass. Anything I find that I think is stupid, I just burn it. I would love to be that guy.
It's straight up in confessional. He's got the hourglass. Do I break it? Yeah, if I were smart. But I'm not playing for me. I'm playing for you guys. directly into the
I'm
camera.
playing for the people.
Have I ever told you my plan if I'm ever on an Edge of Extinction season and I win back my way back into the game and make it all the way to the end via like Redemption on Edge of Extinction and I make it to the final shop?
You would tell them not to vote for you.
Yeah, I would say don't vote for me.
Like, I'm happy.
I don't deserve to be here.
People who win their way back in from Edge of Extinction or Redemption Island don't deserve to win, and then I don't say anything else because then they have to show that. They can't cut out anything. They can't cut that out and just stay silent. They have to show something. Why didn't Ryan say anything at Final Tribal Council? He literally said nothing.
Was he even trying to win?
No.
He's going for second. Or
So
third,
one
I guess.
vote out of respect.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. This is not good sound advice to win the game. This is just what I would do to try and make Survivor a better show. I'm willing to take that bullet for everybody.
This is Ryan's pettiness, spitefulness showing through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, don't mess with something I love because I don't care how much money. I am already poor.
Yeah.
I know more than you.
I am the Ron Swanson of Survivor.
I think Randy Bailey might be the Ron Swanson
You know
of
what? That's
Survivor.
fair. That's absolutely fair.
But you can make your name. You can be the Ryan Stacy of Survivor.
There you go.
So James gets the knowledge of power. Dwight immediately goes and tells like his entire alliance, which seems to be everybody but Coco at this point. And he's like, James got something. And they all assume it's knowledge is power because they haven't seen it yet. Good for them. It wasn't the game. They just didn't know. Good for them. Because I think, was Gio the only one to know?
Carla, he told Carla. And
Gio.
then Carla was like, yeah, Gio's got to go.
That's
and we
right.
didn't like that. Which we were correct not to like.
So Dwight tells his alliance. Noel's like, cool, we'll take out James. Great. We'll do 5 votes James, 3 votes Ryan, just to make sure. Even though you could have just done the 4-4 and just on the revote you take out James. I don't know why you gotta get so cute with this. Well, whatever. Noel's really pushing really hard for this though, which makes Jesse uncomfortable because they've already had some history. So he wants to blindside Noel. What a stupid move. Jesse, I like Jesse. He's not a good Survivor player. I really have not liked hardly any of his moves in this game. I'm very down on his strategy.
I feel like I've liked like 50%. Is the rate that I'm going at. Like, I've only really complained about a couple of his moves, but they've been pretty bad moves. So, it's on a weighted scale, it tips it quite a bit. Me and Ryan were talking a little bit after the episode about this, but the really big asterisk here is whether or not this next person is going to be on the jury. Because if that person isn't on the jury, then I'm perfectly fine with this move. But I don't think they're told pregame, like, how many people would be on the jury before the vote, anything like that. And this is such a critical person to put there, regardless of them not voting for in the end and losing that vote. But they can set the tone once they're at Ponderosa. So you need to be super careful about how you put that first person on that jury.
And which person it is. So that role, it's not talked about on the show, but in like the meta and the Survivor world, that is referred to as the mayor of Ponderosa, the first jury member. They set the tone. Everyone is greeted by that person. And are they pissed? Who are they pissed at? That is going to influence the other jurors. You've got to make sure the first member of the jury is not an enemy of yours if you can help it. That'll help you in the long run. Because otherwise you can poison the jury against you and the second vote at the merge. Now, Dwight's going to go out here. Because what's going to happen is Cody and Joyce are going to talk, and Cody would rather take Dwight out instead of Noel. And Joyce is like, that's fine too, either one. But Dwight is going to go home. He's not going to make the jury. So it's going to be okay for them. But there's no way in hell they knew that. And I think, based on what we saw the last 2 seasons, the person who didn't make the merge, the Ellie, the Sydney, the, who was it in 42?
I don't even remember.
Man, who was it in 42? It was, Lydia.
Lydia.
Yeah, those people did not make the jury. But the next person did, so I think it's safe to assume the person who goes out in this episode will make the jury. They're wrong, but it's a fair and safe assumption to make. I hate the vote for Dwight or Noel move for Cody and Jesse. It's too soon to turn on your big alliance members. Maybe the next vote, you could talk me into that at the final 11. You could definitely talk me into that. Final 12, the first real true merge vote. No, you keep your numbers. You get somebody who's not from your original tribe.
The only observation I'm going to add, and this has been true through 7 episodes of season 43 so far that bothers me, because everyone knows about everyone's advantages and everything is so up in the air and out in the open, we're playing like Survivor's version of whack-a-mole. The second literally anybody tries to do anything, they're immediately voted out, and then everyone forgets about the fact that the second person to make a move on the person who got whacked is the person who's actually making the move. And that's why I think we're seeing the votes start somewhere, go somewhere else, and then ultimately end up in a third spot because it keeps getting shifted a million times over. And I think that's a function of everybody knowing everything about all advantages and everyone all the time. And I don't really like it. I'm not here to watch Whack-A-Mole. I'm here to watch Survivor. So I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying the season well enough, but I think this is like the fourth time it's happened where one person just initiates and everyone else is like, bad.
Yeah.
Gone.
You know, Survivor game changes all over again. The first person to throw a name goes home.
Even the beginning of Winners at War,
Yeah.
to be honest.
But you just need to know if that's the dynamic of your season, because if it is, a good Survivor player should be able to identify that.
Yes.
So if you're seeing the first person that's throwing out a name be the first person to get voted out each time, okay, what do we learn here? Let's not do that.
I should clarify, I'm talking about the entertainment piece
Yes.
here. I'm not talking about the strategy, because a good Survivor player can adapt to the cast.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're saying is keep your head down at the merge for at least a little bit, if you can.
So I don't want to jump too far ahead or anything like that, but just since we're on that topic, from Cody and Jesse's point of view here, if it isn't time to go for the switcheroo on Vessi, but they want to work with a team like Coco long term, what is the play then? Like, how do you turn this around to be a vote on someone who you're okay being on the jury, and also not someone in that group that you want to be working with going forward, because they have this group of probably like seven people that they're looking for, basically just joining themselves with Coco.
You can take out Owen or Sammy.
Janine even.
Yeah, Janine, it's just someone on Baca. I mean, we've already seen that Vessi and Coco are willing to work with each other long enough to get out somebody like Ellie. So there's already been some lines drawn. You like to think that there is communication there. And I mean, Owen and Sammy, neither of them are physical nor mental or strategic slouches. I think it's perfectly reasonable that if you want to work with Coco, you don't have to burn a Vessi bridge to do it.
Yeah, the only issue is that you'd have to get the other Vessi people on board with it, because you don't have the numbers just joining with Coco right now. So you're either going to have someone on Baca turn on one of their own people, or get the other two Vessis to join you and vote one of them out.
Don't think they will. They want to take out James, which is fair. He has the knowledge, power advantage. Cody, you have an idol. So this is where James is going to start telling people he has knowledge, power. He tells Carla, he tells Ryan, and he tells Cody that he has this. James, did you watch 41 and 42? It's going to work out fine for you in this episode. In the future, I'm not so sure. We'll see. But Cody's like, maybe we should take James out. I'm going to give my idol to Jesse just in case. Yeah, maybe you should take James out. Maybe that's the perfect time to do it. And word is going to spread, so everyone is going to start playing musical chairs with their idols and advantages. Noelle is going to give her steal vote to Owen. Janine is going to give her idol to Dwight. Oh, God. So, Dwight's going to get voted out. Idol in pocket. We'll get a little more into that. Janine, you had the wrong read here.
Thinking about it more, I think you might be right with the whole burn the advantage. When it comes to knowledge is power. Because, like, if you get, an idol or an extra vote, steal vote, whatever it might be from underneath the shelter, great, just, like, use it right away in the first tribal. You don't need to burn it in front of people. I don't know if you're actually saying, like, literally throw it in the fire.
With knowledge power, literally burn it in the fire.
Because you're not guaranteed anything from that. Like, you're getting all the attention on you. Like, you could and probably should be voted out at this next tribal because of that advantage. And you have maybe one chance to use it, and there's not a guarantee that you're going to be right. You have, let's just say, a 50% chance of actually getting an advantage from this knowledge is power. That is way too risky. I don't know if the editors will let you throw an advantage in the fire, but I would go ahead and give it a try just to lay it off the table.
Yeah. I would burn it because, back in Survivor Blood versus Water, they were given clues, and Brad Culpepper and the strategy, just throw in the fire. Don't take this with you. You are marked if you get this.
And it made good TV.
Burn everything. Pull a Derek Kubicek and burn everything.
Burn it all. Burn it all.
Resident pyromaniac Derek Kubicek.
Yeah. Until they make it fireproof, just keep burning it.
Yep.
And then you eat it. I don't know.
Yep. If it's not Knowledge of Power, if it was something else, yeah, I bring it to Trouble Council and immediately play it. If it is something that everyone knows you have, get rid of it. It takes the target off you. I've just noticed over the years, every time someone plays something, it has residual effects of people not typically coming back for you, unless you're like the number one target in the game, like Mike Holloway or something like that. Generally, it just gets the target off you and you're safe. It's almost like an idol works for a couple rounds.
I would say that when you play something like that, assuming that it wasn't like a game breaker and you just kind of played it to get rid of it, it takes the heat off of you because now people are looking, okay, like, well, I was focused. Like, who caught on fire over here? Like, who's heating up?
What else is out there?
Yeah, and so there is, I think, some subconscious effect where just playing it, getting rid of it, people are like, hey, you know what? There's something trustworthy about this. There's something honest intrinsically about this, and I like it. So I don't know. I'm with Ryan. I think you just burn it.
So Trouble Council is going to be 7 votes for Dwight, 2 votes for James, 3 votes for Ryan. So Noel and Dwight, they were on the outs. They voted for James. And then the 3 Baca members, Janine, Gabler, and Owen, were all voting for Ryan, which leaves all of Coco, Dwight and Jesse, and Sammy voting for Dwight. So I have questions. So we were shown in the episode Janine was not on this vote. She's going to lose her idol because Dwight's going to go out of the game with Janine's idol in his pocket. You can't transfer that. This is confirmed by Jeff Probst on Twitter. Once Jeff Probst starts reading the votes, everything's locked in. You can't give anything over. You can't hand it over. So that idol was in Dwight's pocket, out of the game. Janine has no idol. So Janine was not included in this vote. My big question, were Gabler and Owen in on it, voted for Ryan just in case shot in the dark or some other tomfoolery, just as backup votes? I don't know. That makes sense to me, but we don't know.
I don't know either. And even if they are, why would you go for him instead of someone like James? Why not toss your extra votes on James so that the backup would be him and Knowledge's Power's out of the game? Or I don't know. There's so much going on here. It goes back to me wanting more information on how Baca is even functioning right now, because then I could at least form an opinion on, oh yeah, this makes sense. I understand what they're doing, versus are they all just being fooled here? Are they all out of the vote? We even saw in the next week on Survivor, it looks like they're on the outside. So I really have no idea where we're at right now.
I mean, we just don't have enough information, which again is bad on the edit.
Question: do you have to have the idol on you?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, because let's say I'm not worried about going home, and I have possession of an idol. Let's say I'm Carla. Could I leave my idol back at camp, go to Tribal, because I know Knowledge's Power is in the game, and then I just, do you have an idol? Nope.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the full clarification. You have to have it on you at that moment.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put on a tinfoil hat and say that production says you need to bring your hardware to Tribal now.
Could be.
It's possible.
You can't just leave it behind.
You all have bags for a reason. Go use them.
Yeah. Everyone bring their bag. Even though I like it when someone's cocky enough not to bring their bag. It's a bad move, but I like it.
Speaking of bad moves, this was the bad move. It should have been James. I like James a lot. I really wanted him to be out because I wanted Knowledge of Power of the game, but that is such an overpowered advantage. Get that gone as soon as you know about it, and a lot of people knew about it.
I think I'm good. I would have been good with either James or Ryan.
Yeah, it's the backup.
To be perfectly honest. And that's where it's you could have done a 4-4 vote split and just, take out the tie. But either way, you need to find a way to burn the Kip advantage, and I don't care how you do that. You could have even played musical chairs and then had someone leak information to James that they're actually coming for him, and so has an idol. There were a million different ways to do this, quote unquote, correctly. Cody and Jesse flopping on Vessi was a horrible move for both of them, and not right, in my opinion, for the most number of people. But again, I'm not going to pretend to know anything because the edit's not giving me enough to really solidify an opinion here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no. Should have stuck with the regular split of what it is. But I am going to put in a disclaimer that, and this is strictly just for anyone listening, and not for anything else, but for anyone listening, if you already know that this is that this person is not going to be on the jury, this is an okay vote. If you do think, or you don't have the knowledge that this person might not be on the jury, then don't do this. So I just want to put that asterisk there. I would be completely fine with it otherwise, but you don't know, so I'm going to go with no.
All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Josh, who do you have for best player of the episode?
There wasn't really a whole lot of great.
No, there was not.
So I'm almost going to go kind of just like process of elimination here. I'm going to take out everyone on Baka because I don't know their motivation. I'm going to take out everyone on Vessi because it is either negatively impacted or they should have been waited 1 or 2 tribals to make this move. So now we're hopping over to Coco here. And James's knowledge is power, and he very could have likely gone home here. I'm not going to give him credit for not going home because I don't think he really did anything to cause him to do that. I'm going to give it to Carla here for 2 reasons. One, her entire alliance stayed intact during this whole musical chairs of advantages, knowledge is power, lines being drawn and switched in every which way. So everyone in her immediate alliance is still around, and she was the only person who did not move their advantage in that entire time. So I'm going to give her a little bit of credit there, and that is all I'm looking for, and that's enough for me to give it to her.
Okay, Derek?
I went in a slightly different direction. I'm actually going to go with Sammy for this episode, and it's mostly because he ended up on the right side of the vote, and I'm so confused by this edit. We have to remember, Baka could have very well ended up on the ropes after Ellie went home last episode, but by Sammy's social game, or by his understanding of the machinations within this particular group, Baka's no longer on the bottom. I think Owen also had a very great episode. He was in the conversations. He was in the right places. He was in a plan. He was never brought up. Baka really, in general, wasn't targeted, even though they could have been. But ultimately, the deciding factor is that Sammy ended up on the right side of the vote. I have no idea how nor why, but I do know that when pen comes to paper, it's better to be with the current majority than it is to not be. And I just can't say enough about Owen's vote for Ryan because I don't understand it. Yeah. I know that Sammy wrote down Dwight's name, and I'm going to give him credit for that. So that's where I had Sammy.
I like both of you guys' picks. I ended up on James because I didn't really feel strongly about anyone.
Fair.
He was the target. Then he went and found knowledge is power. Went for the advantage. I don't know if he knew he was on the bottom, but he was. He went and took action to try and change something. He got probably the most powerful advantage you can get, or one of them anyway. I don't know that he told people, but then we're going into this mystery zone where we don't get enough information about exactly what went down and who knew what. I'm gonna just go give James the benefit of the doubt and hope that somehow what he did helped save him. I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't feel strongly about this. Disclaimer, asterisk, everything. I don't feel good about this. I just didn't feel strongly enough about anybody else. I'm going to give James the credit. And, maybe this is partially, I give him a little bit of credit from last week, because maybe I should have given it to him. I got a lot of heat on Reddit for picking Ryan as my best player of the episode. And then after the deleted scene came out, I felt a little worse about my pick of picking Ryan last week. So this might be a little back due credit for James, but I'll give him best player of the episode.
Yeah, I think we roasted you a little bit.
Oh yeah, you guys roasted me a lot.
I mean, I still didn't like Sammy as best player last week.
I'll stand by it.
But yeah, when you ask me like him or Ryan, I'm like, oh, don't ask me that.
All right, so we have Carlos, Sammy, and James.
I enjoy that me and Derek feel good about our picks, and then for once, because it seems like you always just really stick to your opinion, and you very rarely are almost doubting yourself. So it almost feels nice that me and Derek are in the opposite position.
2 things. Sickness addled my brain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Second part, my point system did me no favors.
The flaw in the point system, you say?
The chicken scratch?
I had a 7-way tie for first place.
It's almost like there's a flaw.
That's why Jeff edited this episode the way he did, just to mess with Ryan.
Now, granted, all of those people were tied for first, and the point system is like to just like help me differentiate people, put them into different tiers, and then from there I generally make my picks. That's what I do with my points.
I'm gonna give you an 18-point rubric, Ryan. You can start using that instead.
No. And worst player of the episode, Derek, what do you get?
One that I honestly didn't feel too great about. I had almost no differentiation between the two. I picked Jesse just because I felt that he should be more capable than Cody at making these strategic decisions, and so therefore the decision to turn on Vesey this early was dumber for him. We have to remember that early on in the lifespan of Vesey, Jesse was connecting kind of with both sides. He was with Naka, he was with Cody, he was with Noel, he was with Dwight. And by voting out Naka, with Cody on board with that, they kind of picked a side and made what seemed to be outwardly a four-person alliance. And they were good. And, Jesse was always able to keep it at least amenable. And he's just like, nope, not anymore. So I felt like Jesse burned a bigger bridge by voting out Dwight than maybe Cody did, because at least Cody and Dwight were actively at odds in the pre-merge.
So, coming into this podcast, I had Janine. I've changed it. I've decided.
Janine had a bad day, but I think that it was the forces around her.
Yeah, she had a really bad read on the situation. Wrong side of the vote, lost her idol. So it was really just like one thing, but it was like a double whammy. In the end, what you were saying, you kind of made me change my mind, not to Jesse, but to Cody. I went on the same lines as you. I think the move is worse for Cody because he has an idol. He could have taken out James the Knowledge Power. It means less for Jesse than it does for Cody. I hate that I moved to flip on Dwight, so ultimately I'm going to give my worst part to Cody.
Respect.
Do you think that James would have played his knowledge as power? I'm just thinking about this now, but do you think that he would have played his knowledge as power if the vote would have been split? Because they were obviously clued into, from someone on Coco or, whatever communications they had with the people on Vesey, that they're going to be going now for Dwight. So since the vote is shifting that way, does that cause him to wait to use it? And if it wouldn't have been the case, I wonder if he would have used it instead.
I think the way you're phrasing the question, the answer almost default has to be yes. Because if you feel you are clued in on the situation and the information is reliable, then yeah, you have to act on it. You would be silly not to act on it. Or I guess, in this case, you would not act and therefore retain your advantage. So the way you're phrasing the question, I'm going to say yes. He obviously heard something. And maybe he just feels confident with his people. It might not honestly be that deep. I would need to know more.
Anyways, for my worst player, gonna go off the board a little bit here. I'm gonna go with Noel. I don't want to put huge negative points on it, but like she really did struggle a lot during the immunity challenge. It's whatever. Only one person can win, so whatever. But her closest ally went home, and from what we saw, like, I think it's a really fine line, so you can't really blame her too much, but from what we saw, she was the cause of it. Like, Jesse wanted to start making this move because of what she was doing. So I'm going to give it to her. I think that she's the most negatively impacted from this move, too. She's kind of going to be, like, floating out there with Janine just on, I don't know, Misfit Island, like just with two people without an alliance. Maybe they can tag along with each other. They're probably going to have to tag along with each other if they want to win the game eventually. But I think that she's just in so much of a worse shape right now that I'm going to give it to her over Cody and Jesse. I'm not saying that was a good move, but long term, it's the result that they're going to want anyways. It's a little premature, but it's a step towards the direction that they want to be going down anyways, and they're successful at it. So I'm going to give them at least a sliver of credit there, and enough to not get the worst player of the episode.
I think the move, Noel was not great, but I think that whole negative sphere is more on Jesse than it is Noel.
The reason that I had a dishonorable mention for Noel,
basically
based on like retrospective analysis, right? because she did exactly what Ellie did. I literally had like whack-a-mole Survivor in my notes, and we just saw Ellie literally go home because she poked her head out of the hole. And what does Noelle do? The second that she finds out that James has this Kip, she goes on this very like fraudful campaign of, we got to get Kip out of the game. We got to get James out of the game. She popped her head out of the hole. Her teammate's going to pay the price instead of her, and there could be any number of reasons as to why that is. But ultimately, I feel like she was campaigning for the right move. So it was like she was trying to speak sense into people who could not be spoken sense to. And that's why I don't give her the worst. It's just, dishonorable mention. And the person who made the really bad decision gets worse for me.
All right, let's jump into who is going next. I'll go first. I think since he's got the most powerful advantage in the game, James is the next target. And based on what we saw in this episode, everyone on this beach can outplay the knowledge power advantage. So I think James is next.
I wanted to say James, but it seemed too obvious. Just because he should be going home, but he probably should have gone home this episode. So it's kind of like, do we see this now new alliance, this larger alliance form, and they kind of just start picking people off one by one? If that's the case, James isn't going to be the one going home. If there's an uprising and it gets turned around on Jesse and Cody and Coco, is James going to be the one that goes home? Also, probably again, no. So I went with more of an easy pick here, and I just went with Noelle. Just gonna assume that larger alliance sticks together.
See, I'm thinking the other way. I think it fractures.
I think it's definitely possible. And if that does happen, you might see someone like maybe someone like a Sammy goes home, or a Cassidy, or anyone like that. I just think that if they're gonna make a move, I don't think they'll go for James first.
I said Gabler because I have no idea what's going on. I don't know where these lines are drawn. I don't know who's targeting who. I know that Sammy's been on the right side of the vote since the faux merge 2 episodes ago, and he also kind of wants Gabler out. So when is Sammy just going to step in and say, hey, he's not safe anymore. I don't want him here. He's too unpredictable. Let's vote him out. So I'm basically just fan-fictioning my way into Gabler going home at this point. I debated putting Janine will quit because literally everything is going wrong. But I'm just going to say Gabler, but you guys have probably put more thought into this one than I have, so...
How could the Alligabler go home?
The Alligabler?
Isn't that what he said?
Is that what he said?
I think he was saying that when he was talking about popping up and making a move and then going back underneath.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe I heard it wrong, but that's what I thought.
Alligabler, because he was talking about going back underwater.
He makes his move and now he coasts a little bit, so he's not seen as a threat.
All right, so let's get into who can't win now. Before we get into that, I do want to make the announcement for next week. Now that we're into this phase of the game where we're into the merge proper, next week we're going to have to name 2 people who can't win, because technically there are 2 people who cannot win this game if we're going to final 3. Starting next week, 2 people. 2 people cannot win this game.
God, I hope it's a final 2 just because of that.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Josh, who do you got?
Gabler.
Derek?
Gabler.
The Alligabler himself.
The Alligabler.
And you know what? That'll make it a little bit more interesting too, starting next week.
Because it's literally, I don't think we've changed it at all.
No.
It's been a minute.
Alright, so last thing we gotta do is check in with our survivor pool. Josh and I are still alive.
And Derek takes a break.
Derek takes a break.
Yes, so this is where it starts to get interesting. I feel like we kind of turned here. So instead of listing off who we've all picked, and by we I mean just me and Ryan, instead of listing off all the people that we picked, I'm now only going to talk about the people that are still eligible for us to choose. Because if you remove all the people that we've picked and all the people already voted out, we are both actually down to only 5 people each. Now 4 of those are the same between us. The 4 of those people are Sammy, Owen, Cassidy, and Ryan. Neither of us have picked any of those people. Now Ryan also can choose Jesse, and I can also choose Noelle. So, Ryan, who is your choice?
So there's no one really left with anything in their pockets that I can pick. So I really have to just go with who I think is the least likely person to be targeted. I don't feel great about anybody. I'm going to land on Owen as my pick.
All right. Yeah, I was balancing who I think could be here late in the game so I don't, screw myself really soon. But also who could potentially be safe if this majority sticks together. And even if there is sort of an uprising who might not be targeted first. So I'm going to go with Ryan here.
What is interesting is every single one of my picks is still in the game. I don't know if that's true for you too.
Yeah, all of my picks are still in the game too.
So yeah, we're just incredible. We're saving all these people from elimination.
You're welcome, people.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Ryan and Owen. Yes.
All right, so that is episode 7. So hopefully next episode will be better. We should check in on Twitter before we go here and see if they agree with us. How did Twitter vote?
71% of Twitter said that no, the right person did not go home.
Okay, so they agree with us.
That's fair.
Good for them.
Good for Twitter. They're getting smarter. I think there's like 2 in a row.
It's a new season, a new era of Twitter's opinions.
All right, so you can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram.
The places.
YouTube.
You know by now. YouTube.
Smash that like button.
Exactly. Anything else, guys?
No, I'm good.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.